The Germans had won control over Cambrai. They used one of the greatest defense lines seen by the world. Masses of barbed wire made it extremely difficult to pass. This was called the Hindenburg Line.
To pass through this, England used the surprise attack, in which they were going to use massive amounts of tanks. Even though they used camouflage, they used airplanes to disguise the sound so that there were no suspicions. The tanks advanced through no man's land, and Germans watched helplessly while the tanks crushed the barbed wire.
England used bridges to move the tanks. This plan failed given that the bridges collapsed beneath the tanks' weight. They retreated. When England tried to move their tanks again, Germany destroyed most of them using machine guns.
England had a great disadvantage given that the soldiers were exhausted, the communication is failing, and they no longer have the element of surprise. On top of that, they were facing an army of fresh German soldiers.
Germany launches a counterattack, which goal was to win back the land that the British had won and pushed them back to the Hindenburg Line.
The Germans were able to gain ground in a tremendous amount of speed. Even though England tried to fight back, they were not successful.
On December 7th, a great blizzard comes into the battlefield, forcing both sides to forfeit.
Even though Germany kept in command of Cambrai, England managed to cause damage to the Germans' defense line.
The importance of this battle is marked through the use of tanks, which changed war strategy forever. England learned how to use tanks in a way that would benefit them for the rest of the war.
Thank you for coming. What's your name?
Colonel Frank Burrow.
Here today to tell us a little bit about the Battle of Cambrai and how it was there and how he succeededly survived. Can you explain to us why you decided to join the war?
When I was 18, I decided to join the army considering that my community was suffering and I wanted to make a change, and that's why I joined the army.
What were your first thoughts when you were beginning the training to become a part of the army?
I knew it was not going to be an easy thing, and there were a lot of challenges that I was not expecting, like malnutrition and diseases, among other things, but I was still keeping on going and fighting because I knew I wanted to do something good for my country.
Being in the Battle of Cambrai, do you think that World War I was worth all the chaos it's causing?
Being in the Battle of Cambrai and being my first and only battle, I believe that all of this is not worth it. Considering that in a short amount of time there were a lot of dead and wounded people, and if you can ask me and other people and they will tell you the same thing. You cannot feel what we are feeling and our suffering, and not only being around weapons and death, but just seeing that the dead people around you makes more impact than you think and makes you rethink all the war concepts.
What do you think was the hardest part about the Battle of Cambrai?
I believe that the hardest part was just knowing that and not only me but other people have to go through it, and that there are gonna be so many wars, and just accepting the fact that even though this was just a harsh war, there are gonna be so many more, and they never realize that it's a bad thing and it doesn't do anything for us.
What was the biggest and most significant piece of equipment that was used in the war?
This battle was different from others because they used tanks in a large amount. It was horrific because so many people died instantly, and it was just very different because people did not know how to control the army to win the battle.
Thank you for being here and telling us a little bit about you. We'll keep you posted.
Good afternoon. We are here on the outsides of the war zone in France, and I am with
Mary Ann Montgomery,
a very fragile nurse, as you can see.
Can you tell us what is happening, Marianne?
Well, right now, France is in a very poor state, both in health and economically. It's not stable at all, and so many people are sick. And in the hospital, many of the people I get are already dead. And it's just that everywhere I look, I see dead people.
tell us what it's like living outside the war zone and what it's like to work there?
So basically, every day I get thousands of dead people, and right now I'm focusing on the Battle of Cambrai, which just ended, and so many people died. It only lasted a week, but I had to treat so many people, and there isn't water or food, and we don't have resources to nurse the patients, so it's really hard.
Is this all because France is the location of where most battles are?
That is mainly it, but also buying equipment for the war is extremely expensive. So whenever I get patients, I see most of them dead, but I can't do anything because
You don't have the right resources to
I don't
treat
have.
them.
And they're already dead. People die in the war all the time, and they come to me, and I can't tell them that they're dead, but they are, and it's extremely hard.
As you can see, not only during the war zones are people suffering, also outside. Explain to us a little bit about the Battle of Cambrai and how it was different from other wars.
So this war was different for me in the hospital because they used an extreme amount of tanks that were completely unnecessary, and the wounds were untreatable.
I'm sorry, was it the first time they were using the tanks?
It wasn't the first time, but it was the first time that they used them in large amounts. Like, they used a lot of tanks, and the wounds that they provided were horrible, and they wouldn't be treated easily. So the hospital was overflowing with wounded people, and I couldn't do anything to help them.
How did this war impact you personally?
Well, it affected me personally because outside of the hospital, there weren't enough resources for me to feed my children, and it was too dangerous for me as a mother to get them to school and then go to the hospital, and I just couldn't do it. And all of the men are off to fight, and with my husband included, and I can't go off to fight, and I can't do anything for my country, and I don't earn enough to pay for my children. And it's honestly just so hard to be a woman at this time because I have to work, but I don't want to work in a hospital, and I can't do it anymore.
I wanted to thank you for coming, and I want to thank you for everything you do in all your services, because even though you're not fighting the war, you are still a big impact on this war, and many more people would have died without you not taking care of them.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me share my story.
We'll keep you posted for more stories on the war.